It begins in stillness, or at least that's how it seems. The night is quiet, the air cool, the ground beneath you feels solid, unmoving, eternal. But listen closely. Beneath the hush of wind and the rhythm of your breath, something ancient is murmuring. The earth, a silent companion in the dark, is breathing. Not the way we do, not with lungs or air. Her breath is heat, pressure, the slow turning of stone into fire, and fire into stone again. If you could press your ear against the crust, you might hear it. A low, endless heartbeat deep in the mantle's glow. Down there, 2,900 kilometers below, the world melts and swirls like a sleeping dragon beneath its skin. Magma rises and cools, then sinks again. It's a rhythm that has pulsed for over 4 billion years. The slow exhale and inhale of a living planet. We forget sometimes that we live on something alive. We bathe its skin. We name its mountains. We draw borders and call them ours. But below every map, every city, every step, the earth is whispering. And that whisper is fire. Imagine standing on a volcanic island at dawn. The air smells faintly of sulfur and salt. The sea breathes in slow waves, brushing against the black sand like a heartbeat against a shore. Beneath your feet, heat hums, invisible but present. You can feel it in the soles of your shoes, a quiet vibration, like the world itself is dreaming. That warmth is not the sun, it's a memory of creation. Every grain of sand, every pebble, every mountain began in fire. Volcanoes are not just destroyers, they are architects, patient, relentless builders. They've given Earth her continents, her atmosphere, her oceans. Even life itself may owe its spark to their molten breath. 4 billion years ago, when our world was still young and hostile, volcanoes were everywhere, fierce, unpredictable, magnificent. Their eruptions filled the skies with steam, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, the gases that would one day become the air we breathe. The ash carried minerals into the newborn seas, feeding the chemistry of life. So, in a way, every breath you take tonight is borrowed from volcanic fire. It's strange, isn't it? That destruction can be the root of creation. That something as violent as an eruption can lead to something as gentle as a flower blooming on new soil. But the earth has always known this secret. To create, it must release. To grow, it must burn. To breathe, it must sometimes tremble. You can almost feel it. If you sit in silence long enough, that faint hum under the crust, that reminder that stillness is an illusion, that we are standing on the surface of a living, restless star that never fully cooled. Every volcano is a voice in its deep conversation with itself. Every eruption a word spoken in the language of pressure and heat. Some voices are gentle, slow oozes of lava, glowing rivers moving like candle wax. Others are thunderous, explosions that shake continents and darken skies. But all of them come from the same place, the heart. When magma rises, it is the earth's blood moving upward. When it erupts, it is an exhalation, a sigh of relief from millennia of silence. And when it cools, new life begins to take shape upon the ashes. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, a chain of volcanoes stretches for thousands of miles. The ring of fire. It arcs like a halo around the ocean's edge, touching the shores of Japan, New Zealand, the Americas. Over 75% of world's active volcanoes live there, whispering beneath the sea and sky. Their voices are deep and steady, sculpting the seafloor, raising islands, rewriting coastlines. To the human ear, they are silent, but to the earth, it is music. A song composed over billions of years. A song of heat meeting water, of still finding shape, of pressure turning to beauty. If you've ever stood near an active volcano, you know the feeling. The air feels heavy, charged, as if reality itself is vibrating. The ground hums with quiet menace. And yet, in that danger, there's awe. You're not looking at something foreign. You are looking at the earth remembering who she is. Because under all her oceans, forests, and cities, she is still molten, all dreaming in magma and pressure, still shaping herself in silence. We live on her cooling skin, barely aware of the fire beneath our feet. But she remembers. Every tremor, every whisper of gas from a crater's mouth, every curl of stream from a mountain side, they are her way of saying, I am here, I am alive. The earth is old, but not tired. She still breathes, and sometimes when her breath grows heavy, she exhales through fire. When she does, we call it eruption. But to her, it's just another heartbeat, another reminder that her story is still being written in smoke and flame. And tonight, as we stand in the quiet feeling, the faint warmth through the scales of our fate, we are part of that story. We always have been. Chapter 2, Fire Beneath Silence. Now close your eyes. Imagine peeling back the skin of the earth, layer by layer, until the colors shift from stone to shadow, and the air grows impossibly hot. You are no longer walking on land. You are floating through fire. This is the world beneath silence, the place where continents are born and destroyed, not in seconds, but in sighs that last millions of years. Here, nothing is still. The rock itself moves, it bends, melts, and flows like honey in a cosmic furnace. This is magma, the molten rock under pressure, the blood of our planet. We rarely think about it, but the Earth's crust, the land we build our cities on, is astonishingly thin, like the fragile shell of an egg. Beneath it, the mantle stretches downward for thousands of kilometers, its temperature rising beyond 1300 degrees Celsius. It's not liquid like water, but not solid either, more like taffy, endless creeping, carrying heat from the Earth's heart toward its surface. Through this mantle, convection currents swirl. Slow, immense rivers of molten rock rising and falling. They move at the pace your fingernails grow, and yet they are powerful enough to tear continents apart. It's strange, isn't it, that something so impossibly slow can shape something so vast, that the quietest motions can create mountains. If you could hover there, suspended between the crust and the core, you'll see a living map of motion. Magma rises in glowing columns called plumes, carrying the Earth's heat like breath escaping a sleeping joint. When it reaches the crust, it pools in vast underground chambers, magma reservoirs waiting sometimes for centuries for the right moment to speak. And when that moment comes, the earth exhales. Pressure builds, cracks widen, and then suddenly release. What was once silent becomes thunder, stone becomes wind, heat becomes light. An eruption isn't an explosion of anger, it's relief, a sigh from a planet that has been holding its breath. Inside those magma chambers lies a kind of alchemy. Each one is different, like fingerprints of the deep. Some are rich in silica, creating thick, sticky lava that traps gases until they burst. Others are fluid, iron rich, flowing smoothly like rivers of liquid night. That chemistry, that invisible recipe of minerals and heat, determines everything. How high the eruption will rise, how far the lava will travel, even what new land will be born from its cooling flow. Volcanoes are sculptures. Each one creates a masterpiece in stone. Beneath Iceland, magma flows like blood through the planet's arteries. There, the mid Atlantic ridge splits the world in two, the Eurasian and North American plates, slowly drifting apart, centimeter by centimeter. From this wound, new crust is born. Every year, the earth remakes herself, quietly, invisibly, under the sea. If you could listen closely enough, you might hear it. A soft crackle, a murmur of molten rock solidifying into basalt, the foundation of the ocean floor. Creation happening in absolute darkness. Somewhere near Hawaii, another story unfolds. Deep below the Pacific, a single plume of magma has burned through the crust for millions of years, creating island after island in a slow motion parade across the ocean. As the Pacific plate drifts northwest, each island moves away from the hotspot, cools, and eventually sleeps, while a new one rises behind it. It's like a chain of memories, each one made of fire. Volcanoes that outlive empires, islands born from nothing, destined to disappear again into the sea. Even now, beneath the waves south of Hawaii, a new island, Lo'ihi, is growing. It hasn't reached the surface yet, but it will. In perhaps 10,000 years, another mountain will rise from the ocean, carrying whispers from the molten deep. If you ever wonder whether the earth forgets, it doesn't. Every layer, every eruption, every cooled vein of basalt is a sentence in her autobiography. The continents are her diaries. The volcanoes are her punctuation marks, moments of emphasis, exclamation, and breath. What looks like chaos is actually rhythm, a balance between pressure and release, creation and erasure, fire and silence. And yet, there is a gentleness in it too. For all its fury, volcanic fire is tender in its purpose. It doesn't destroy out of malice, it reshapes, it renews, it makes space for something new to exist. Think of the lava flow that hardens into rock, black, glassy, lifeless. It looks like death, but wait, give it time. Rain falls, wind carries seeds. Soon, green shoots appear, the first to colonize a barren world. Moss, ferns, flowers, life returning to ashes. That is the paradox of volcanoes, that creation requires destruction, that beneath every silence, something is quietly burning to be born. When you look at the night sky, at the stars glowing millions of light years away, remember this. Our planet glows too, just not where we can see it. The same fire that lights the stars is trapped within the earth, not in fusion, but in memory. It is the leftover warmth of creation, the echo of collisions that forged this planet from dust and chaos. Chapter 3: The Architects of Continents. You wait to the sound of rain, a gentle tapping against the window. But imagine for a moment that those droplets were stones, falling, cooling, solidifying. The sky itself raining rock. That was Earth once. Billions of years ago, before there were oceans, before there was life, before even a blue sky, the world was molten. A ball of fire wrapped in chaos. Everywhere volcanoes roared. 1,000 fiery mountains clawing through clouds of ash and lightning. It was beautiful, terrifying, and necessary, because from that chaos, the continents were born. When the young earth began to cool, its first crust was thin, fragile, consistently melting and reforming. But over time, volcanic eruptions brought new materials from below, lighter rocks like granite, feldspar, and silica. These floated atop the denser basaltic crust, forming the first stable landmasses, the seeds of continents. You could call them the planet's first memories, floating islands in an ocean of fire. Every mountain you've ever seen, every plain, every shore, they are the children of volcanoes. Without them, there would be no land to stand on, no soil to hold the rain, no breath to fill your lungs. Let's pause here and imagine what it would look like if we could watch it unfold. You're standing on the newborn earth. There are no trees yet, no birds, no human footprints. The sky glows copper and red, thick with volcanic gas. The air smells of sulfur and lightning. Before you, the ground trembles. A fissure opens, splitting the crust with a hiss. Magma spills upward, glowing like sunrise, flowing across blackened stone. The heat cools the air. The surface crackles, hardens, fractures again, and then silence. Hours later, steam begins to rise as rain. The first rain falls from the ash-darkened sky. Each droplet hisses on the lava, releasing tiny clouds of steam. The earth exhales. You're watching continents take their first breath. That cycle, eruption, cooling, erosion, renewal, never stopped. Even now, the continents move, shift, and drift like slow rafts across a fiery ocean. Deep beneath our feet, the mantle churns. It pushes against the crust, shattering it into pieces. Tectonic plates. At their edges, these plates collide, pull apart, or slide past one another. And wherever they meet, volcanoes rise. The Himalayas, the Andes, the Pacific Islands, all born from this slow collision of stone and time. 200 million years ago, there was Pangaea, one giant supercontinent, all land connected. Then it broke apart, like a slow motion shatter, creating the world we know today. And millions of years from now, it will drift again into new shapes, new worlds. We think of volcanoes as disasters, but the truth is, they are the reason we exist. Without them, the atmosphere would have remained barren. The oceans would have stayed locked in stone. The land would have never risen to meet the light. Volcanoes gave us the world, and they are still giving. Chapter 4: When the Sky Turned Black. It begins quietly, as it always does. A tremor, barely noticeable. Just a whisper beneath the soil. Animals pause mid-step. Birds take flight. Somewhere deep underground, magma moves, searching for escape. Pressure builds. The earth holds her breath, and then she exhales. The mountain opens its mouth, and the sky disappears. History remembers wars, kings, empires, but there are moments silent, buried in ash, when the earth herself became the author of human fate. Moments when a single volcano rewrote the sky, the seasons, and the stories of entire civilizations. Let's begin in the year 1815 on the island of Sumbawa, Indonesia. The mountain's name was Tambora. It had been quiet for 1,000 years. Then, in April, it woke. The explosion was so vast it could be heard nearly 2,000 kilometers away. Villages vanished in an instant. The ash rose higher than any cloud, 30 miles into the sky. Darkness swallowed the sun, and the world changed. The next year became known as the year without a summer. Across the globe, the sunlight dimmed, crops failed, snow fell in June, rivers froze in July. Famine spread across continents. In Europe, skies turned a ghostly orange. In North America, storms carried volcanic dust across the fields. People prayed, panicked, despaired, unaware that their suffering began with a single mountain on the far side of the world. Even art and literature felt its chill. A group of writers trapped indoors by the endless gray of that summer began telling ghost stories by candlelight. Among them was Mary Shelley. In that unnatural twilight, she dreamt of a man made from death. And so was born Frankenstein. Out of the ashes of Tambora came not only darkness, but imagination. Even devastation, it seems, carries the seed of creation. But Tambora was not the first, nor the last, to change the sky. 74,000 years ago, long before humans had written words, another volcano, Toba, in what is now Indonesia, erupted with a force no human has ever witnessed. It was the largest known eruption in 2 million years, so vast that it ejected enough ash to blanket the entire planet. The sun dimmed for years. Temperatures plummeted. It is believed that humanity, then young, scattered, fragile, was nearly extinguished. Some scientists estimate that the population of humans may have dwindled to just a few thousand survivors. Every one of us alive may trace our lineage to those who endured the volcanic winter. The mountain nearly erased us, but it also defined us. Resilience became part of our DNA. We learned to survive a world that could change overnight. And then, in Krakatoa, 1883, The island between Java and Sumatra exploded with a sound that echoed across oceans. Literally the loudest sound ever recorded in human history. It was heard 3,000 miles away. The shock waves circled the planet multiple times. Tsunamis followed. Entire coastlines were erased. Tens of thousands perished. But as the dust rose into the upper atmosphere, something unexpected happened. For months, the sunsets turned crimson. Painters across Europe and America captured skies that bled with strange beauty. Even despair became light. Volcanoes have always been mirrors, showing us both the fragility and the persistence of life. They erase, yes, but they also reveal. They strip away illusion. They remind us that we are guests here, brief, small, yet wondrously lucky to exist between moments of fire. Every civilization that has ever risen has lived under their shadow. The Romans built temples on Mount Vesuvius. They admired its slopes, its vineyards, its fertile lands, unaware that beneath their feet pressure was building. And then, on an August morning in 79 CE, the sky above Pompeii turned black. Ash rained like snow. The city was buried mid-breath. People frozen in the act of living. 2,000 years later, when archaeologists uncovered those bodies, they found gestures still preserved. A mother shielding her child, a dog straining against its chain, a man covering his face from the falling sky. They were not destroyed, they were remembered, encased in the earth's own memory, forever whispering what it feels like when the sky becomes stone. It's haunting to realize that volcanoes don't just shape landscapes, they shape time. They draw lines between eras, before the eruption, after the eruption. They divide history into before the ash and after the silence. And yet, without them, there would be no fertile plains near Naples, no lush soils in Indonesia, no diamond rich craters in Africa. The earth always gives back what it takes. It's a cycle as old as the planet. Death, rebirth, silence, song. Each eruption clears space for something new to begin, a fresh layer of possibility. Chapter 5: The Alchemy of Ash and Light. The mountain has gone silent. The roaring stopped days ago. Only smoke drifts now, thin, pale ribbons rising from cracks in the blackened earth. All around, the land lies still. Trees turned to charcoal, rivers choked with ash. A landscape painted in shades of grey. And yet, beneath that silence, something extraordinary is happening. The world is healing. At first glance, it looks like death, but to the earth, this is renewal. Volcanic ash is more than dust. It is powdered life, ground stone laced with minerals, rich with the chemistry of creation: iron, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, nutrients that the earth hides deep in her molten heart, are suddenly spread across the surface. The soil, once sterile, becomes fertile beyond measure. And so, within weeks, green begins to return. Tiny shoots push through cracks in the hardened lava. Moss spreads like quiet fire across the black rock. Then come the ferns. Then flowers. Then the hum of insects and the song of birds that was once buried becomes alive again. Take the slopes of Mount St. Helens in Washington state. When it erupted in 1980, the blast flattened forests for miles, an apocalypse in gray. But just a few years later, lupins began to bloom across the ash plains, their purple petals glowing like hope against the soot. They fixed nitrogen into the soil, preparing it for the next wave of life. Slowly, the animals returned. First insects, then birds, then deer. A decade later, the mountain's wounds were green again. Nature doesn't rush, but she never stops. Volcanoes don't just destroy life, they engineer it. They create the very conditions life needs to thrive. Even the ocean floor holds traces of this alchemy. Near volcanic vents, the hydrothermal chimneys of the deep sea, water boils with minerals spewed from the earth's core. Here, where sunlight never reaches, life thrives in complete darkness. Creatures that feed not on light but on chemistry. Bacteria that eat sulfur, forming the base of alien ecosystems. Glowing worms, blind crabs, transparent shrimp. It is one of the great mysteries of science that perhaps life itself began there, not in sunlight but in shadow, not in calm seas but in boiling vents, not from peace but from pressure. Volcanoes, in that sense, are alchemists. They turn darkness into nourishment, stone into soil, chaos into creation. What fire destroys, it also transforms, and what ash buries, it also preserves. Archaeologists have found entire cities, Pompeii, Akrotiri, sealed in volcanic ash, perfectly frozen in time. Bowls still resting on tables, paintings still vivid on walls. Human stories protected by the same force that ended them. Ash is not merely residue, it is memory, the earth's way of keeping what it once loved. Chapter 6: The Deep Memory of the Planet. The earth does not remember in words. She remembers in layers. Each stratum of rock is a sentence, each fossil a punctuation mark, each volcano a chapter written in fire. If you could slice through the crust and read it like a book, you'd find stories spanning billions of years. Stories of birth, death, renewal, and quiet persistence. This is the deep memory of the planet, and volcanoes are its scribes. When magma cools, it keeps secrets. Its crystals align according to temperature and pressure. Its minerals record the chemistry of their birth. Tiny magnetic grains inside point toward the Earth's magnetic field at the same time of cooling. A frozen compass marking where north once was. So when scientists study volcanic rock, they're reading the planet's diary. They can tell where continents used to be, how climates shifted, how oceans rose and fell. Each cold eruption is a timestamp, a preserved whisper of what world once felt like. Some of those whispers are unimaginably old. There are volcanic rocks in Greenland that date back 3.8 billion years, among the oldest on Earth. They formed when the crust was young and thin, when continents were still learning how to exist. Imagine it, a world of endless oceans, no plants, no animals, no blue sky, only volcanoes exhaling steam into a dense atmosphere. The ground glowed, the rain hissed, the earth was still learning how to breathe. And yet, in that heat, chemistry danced. Water met mineral, carbon met energy, and the first molecules of life began to assemble. Small, fragile, determined. The earliest cells may have emerged beside volcanic vents, nurtured by warmth, fed by minerals, protected from the violent world above. Life began in the earth's memory of fire. Chapter 8: The Heartbeat of Fire. Listen, beneath everything, the hum of the wind, the rhythm of your breath, the far off pulse of waves, there's another sound, so low, so ancient, you can't quite hear it. You can only feel it. It's the earth's heartbeat, and it beats in fire. We think of volcanoes as anomalies, as interruptions to the calm of nature, but they are the calm and the chaos. They are not intrusions, they are continuations. Every mountain, every plain, every handful of soil was born from their rhythm. If you could see the planet from deep within, not from space but from the heart, you'd see light flowing like veins, rivers of magma pulsing beneath the crust. Every few centuries, the surface opens to breathe, then cools, then rests. That's the sound we've been walking on all along. A rhythm older than life, steady, patient, tender. The earth does not rush her heartbeat. She takes millennia for a single inhale. Fire is her language of continuity. It connects the beginning to the present, the molten birth of the world to the forests and oceans that now thrive above it. When a volcano erupts, we see destruction. But what's really happening is recycling. Matter returning to motion, energy shifting form, a renewal. written in heat and ash. The mountain falls only so that something else may rise. Volcanoes don't end worlds, they pass the torch between them. There's something profoundly human in that, isn't there? The idea that even endings are transitions, that death, in its own way, is just another form of creation. We too are made from this rhythm, ashes that learned to breathe. Every breath we take echoes the planet's own exhale. Every heartbeat in our chest is an echo of the fire beneath our feet. We are small, yes, but we are not separate. If you have ever stood at the edge of a volcano, felt the ground vibrate, smelled the minerals in the wind, watched the horizon flicker red against the night, you know what it feels like to stand at the border of eternity. In that moment, the boundary between you and the planet disappears. You're not watching the earth anymore. You are part of it, part of the pulse, the breath, the living heat that has shaped everything you've ever loved. The fire beneath you and the fire within you, they are the same, born from the same cosmic dust, forged in the same stellar collapse. The volcano is not outside you, it's within you. In every atom, in every heartbeat. And maybe that's what the whisper has been all along. Not a warning, not a threat, but a reminder that the world you walk on is alive. That stillness is never truly still. That beauty and danger are woven from the same flame. And that we, fragile, thinking, dreaming humans, exist only because the planet learned how to burn gently. Look around you now, at the stone beneath your feet, at the air filling your lungs, at the warmth that touches your skin when sunlight falls. All of it, every breath, every grain, every flicker of warmth, was once molten, once luminous, once part of the volcano's dream. The stars made the earth made the volcanoes, and the volcanoes made us. So the next time you stand on a mountain trail or feel the rumble of distant thunder or see steam rising from the ground, pause, listen. That sound beneath the silence, that faint hum in the bones of the planet, that is the whisper of volcanoes beneath our feet, the ancient heartbeat of fire, still burning softly beneath everything we call home. And tonight, as you drift toward sleep, know this: you are resting on a living world. She breathes beneath you, she remembers you, and somewhere deep below, in the quiet glow of molten stone, the earth is still whispering, I am alive, and so are you.